quick warm-up, and the warm-up starts with graphing the function. Watch your language.
Watch your profanity.
Yeah. I mean, it's squared, right? Okay, so just a quick review. If I have x plus 4 squared, where's the vertex? Left, how far? And up nothing, so there's my vertex at -4, 0. And my axis of symmetry,
4.
x equals -4. How do I graph this? How do I graph this?
The standard parent function, but
The parent function? So I could go like out 1, up 1, out 2, up 4. This one's not the normal size of graph that I normally give. Ran out of space from there.
Wait, why did you
Why did I what?
Why did you dash one?
Oh, I don't have any idea why I did that.
Okay.
Because normally when I do the parent function, I did that, but that's fine. Yeah,
how many more people?
you might be next.
Can it be after Daniel? Or not Daniel,
Devin.
Devin,
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay, so number 2, where's our vertex? 2, -6. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there a stretch or shrink? No, so we can go out 1, up 1, out 2, up 4, out 3, up 2, 3, 4, 9. It's symmetric. Oh, I forgot to write my axis of symmetry at x equals 2. And we have a parabola. It's mathemagic. Okay. And then we get to something like number 3. Where's our vertex?
Our vertex is at a place of no one.
-3, -3. And then for this one, there is a stretch and a reflection. This one's not going to fit on my graph unless I resize it, and I don't want to spend a lot of time to do that right now. But which way is this one going to open? Down. And it's going to be a stretch, like, because it's a 5, I know it, you might not realize this, but I know it's like out 1, down 5. However, we did things that might help you learn those kind of things, like when we did the Desmos stuff. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. We've already done that chapter. This one right here, where's our vertex? I did forget it. Here it is. Where's our where's our vertex? Where is it? 0, 4. And my axis of symmetry for this one is x equals 0. So it's right there in the middle. And then what's this tell me?
You're going down.
Reflection, but it's still that same standard parent function stretch thing. So I can find the rest of the points really easy from there. Yay, good review, good review. Today we are going to solve quadratic today to solve quadratic equations. We have not done this yet, however, probably in Algebra 1, but I wasn't there, so. A quadratic equation in standard form would be ax squared plus bx plus c, and then if it equals 0, then we're going to be solving for that variable x. If it equals 0, we can solve for x. There is, I have these posters hanging up, but they fell down because nothing sticks in my room. But I kept them handy. I need to put them back up. They like got weird. Graphs have intercepts.
They do.
I'm going to put this on my video. So I'm talking about it. They do. Intercepts. Okay. If expressions have roots. I'm going to hang these up after I'm done doing it. Okay, these are actually the exact same stuff. I don't know if I can put them both on here at the same time. Am I zoomed out all the way? No, I'm zoomed out all the way. In this one, my x-intercepts are at what numbers? 2, negative 1. This one, my roots are where? 2 and negative 1. They're the things. One, I'm talking about graphs. One, I'm talking about an expression. An expression does not have an equal sign. But what happens if I put 2 in to this first parenthesis here? What would this would be 0. So if I put 2 in here, 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 times 0 is 0. If I plug in either of these numbers, it makes this expression turn 0. What happens if I plug in? Nah, it's not really it. There's nothing to plug it into. What happens to the function at 2? The value of the function is what number? 0. It's going to be the same thing we just did here in just kind of a different format. If I put negative 1 in on my graph, the y value, the function would be 0. Let's look at a different example. Which one's this one? Equations. Equations have solutions. That's what we're doing today. We're doing. So here's an equation that equals 0. Look at my solutions. What are they?
X equals 2 and x equals
2
1.
and negative 1. Have you just heard those numbers twice already?
Yes.
Okay. What's the difference between the equation and the expression? The equation has an equal sign and equals 0. The expression? No equals 0. No equation sign. And then if I tell you to find solutions, it's when we have an equation. If I want you to find those numbers when we have an expression, what will I call them? Really big.
Really big.
What will I call them? They will be called roots. The same both of these. Like, look at this equation and the expression. Like, they're the same. Do you see they're the same? Okay. And then my fourth one is functions. All the tape stuck on the functions one. Functions have zeros. What makes this one a function compared to the f of x compared to the what did you say? They have a y? Kind of. It's in the form of f of x, but yeah, it could be a y. Right. No, you're totally right. You're totally right. So in the equation, it equals 0. In the function, there's a variable over there. But look, they're exactly the same. And they have the same answers. These are 4 different vocab words that are all talking about the same thing. So these pictures are going to be hanging up in my room. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about when I'm talking about zeros or solutions or roots or intercepts, like they're all going to deal with the same thing. I'll hang those up in a moment. We're going to find those answers all the same way.
Where are you hanging from?
They were hung up over there and then they fell off. I'll do it again. Okay. We're going to start by learning how to solve quadratic equations. So we're solving equations. That means, what does that mean? We're going to have equals 0. That's what we have the equation, EQ apostrophe N. Equation equals 0. That's what we have today. There's 3 methods. There is a graphing method, there is a using square roots method, and there is a factoring method. That's what we're going to go through today. You don't have to read all that. I'm going to go through it. So we're going to start with solve equations by graphing. I've already taught you how to graph. I'm going to take some time to just talk about the calculator. Okay? So pull out your graphing calculator.
Yay.
We're going to graph, so go to y equals and make sure everything's cleared. And then up at the top, plot 1 should not have a big dark rectangle on it. If it does, you need to turn it off. You need your graphing calculator. What? How to turn it off?
Yeah.
You just go up and hit enter, and you'll turn it off. Okay, let's type in. So now, so this says x squared minus 6. If you don't have a graphing calculator, you can use Desmos as well. So you could open up your Chromebook and you could use Desmos. You just won't be able to use Desmos on a quiz or a test. But you can use Desmos just as good as you can use graphing calculator. So to do this, we're going to type in, so this doesn't have like y1. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this like the y1. So I'm going to type in x squared minus x minus 6. Just a reminder, the x button is this button next to alpha, where I'm pointing right now. That's the x button. And then once you have that, hit graph. But your window might be set up terrible from us doing all that scatter plot stuff. So if you need to fix your window, it's always zoom. I didn't even look. I just fixed my window. Zoom 6. And what are we currently studying? Quadratics. So this should be a parabola. It is, yeah. Question? Okay, hit zoom 6. Like quit and then hit zoom 6. Tell me if that fixed it. Yeah. If you have errors, stop me so I can fix your errors. Yes. Syntax. Go back to y equals. You typed in cute. Or you have a times symbol instead of like a minus or a negative times symbol. You don't have an No, you type in x, then squared. There you go.
Just turn it off?
No, I turned it back on.
Now I can't troubleshoot you because it's done. I think you might have done x squared negative x instead of subtract x.
No, I actually did the minus right.
Well, I
this
didn't.
time.
I
I've always done that wrong, but this time I remember.
Okay, guys, when we solve, what we're doing, since this equation was not originally y, since this equation was 0 equals, what I'm doing is I'm thinking about I'm thinking about what would that mean if y became 0? What would that mean graphically if y became 0? You know what that would mean? No, if y became 0, you know what that would mean? That would be x-intercepts if y became 0. So if I'm solving this graphically, I can interchange these things because they're all related. I can look at the x-intercepts, and that will be the solutions. I can look at my x-intercepts, and that will be the solutions. So how can we tell the x-intercepts? You might be able to just see them if they're nice.
It's -2.
You're guessing it's -2, right? You're guessing it's -2.
Yeah. It's -2.
Make sure you're helping each other as well.
Second.
For what, dear? I can't hear you. I'm going to show you guys how to do that, yeah. Yeah. I haven't showed you how to do it yet, but I'm about to. Okay, so we're guessing it's -2 and what? And 3. There's a few ways we can validate that it is. So there, well, but like, what if it was -2.000000001? Exactly. So I'm going to show you how to find this exactly. All right? We're going to go to calculate, which is second trace. And Under here, there's another vocab word that I was just talking about on my posters. Oh no, the tape, the tape. Hold on. It's not roots. Roots is not under there.
0.
Do you see 0?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we do is we use 0, and you hit number 2. And then it's going to ask for boundaries. And we did this before. So what you guys want to do is you want to think it's going to be on the left side of this particular x-intercept. Give me a number.
21.
Oh my gosh, too big. Give me a number.
3.
1.
3.
Negative 5. So negative 5 puts a little arrow there, and it says the calculator is going to look on the right side of that. Pick something that is now on the right side of this.
No, 4.
How about 0?
0. Why 0?
Because I don't want to include both of them. The calculator will only find one at a time.
Oh, that's
It gave me an error.
I haven't done anything else yet, so I don't know why you're getting an error. So then it says guess. And Martin, where did you want to guess before?
4.
Negative 2 is where you wanted to guess before. Okay, I'm going to do that again with the other one. Do exactly what I do and ask me questions as I go. Don't work ahead and be like, it didn't work. I'm going to do the same thing again, except I'm going to look at this x-intercept this time. So I'm going to go second trace. And what am I going to choose? It's a 0. That's another word for x-intercepts. Now, I need to pick something to the left of where my pencil point is. Do not go all the way to the left of the whole thing. Just go to the left of this point. What's something that's definitely to the left of this, but not way to the left? 1? I heard 1. 3 is not to the left of this. I'm guessing this is 3. So I'm going to pick something to the left. 1 is a safe guess. This is definitely to the left of it. Oh, I'm just typing 1, enter. See, those are the questions you want to ask. I just typed 1, enter. Now pick another number that is to the right. 5, enter. I literally just typed 5, enter. Now it says guess. Where do we think this is? Yeah, I know, but I like to give the calculator less headaches, so I put 3. Yes. What does it say? Then you press the button too many times. Does it say 3, 0? Does it say 0? Does it have the answer at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, you probably just pressed it too many times. Don't. We're going to do this again. So solve each equation by factoring. Where else, I'm not by factoring, by graphing. Where else could I get more points on this graph? From my graphing calculator. I could find the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept? 0. I plug in 0 squared minus 0 minus 6 and I get 0, right? Where's the y-intercept? The y-intercept.
It's like off.
If I plug in 0, I get negative 6. Oh, somebody said 0. That's the y-intercept. I know my x-intercept is at negative 2 and 3. Where do I find more points on this graph? Using my graphing calculator. You can find the vertex that way. We could do second trace. How would we find our vertex?
Minimum.
Minimum?
Yeah, minimum, yeah.
And then it asks left bound, so we need to pick something to the left of the minimum. Negative 2. To the right of the minimum. 3. Guess. Negative 1. I don't know. Looks like my minimum is at 0.5, negative 6.25. So about there. There's still another place you guys can find points. Where else can we find points?
So that's a vertex.
Come on, some of you are really good at using your calculator. Daniel, where else can I find points?
My calculator.
That doesn't mean you don't know how to use it.
Yo, calculate it right there, bro.
What? How do I get to the table? I'm so glad you're getting all this information to make everything go faster and easier for you. Second graph. Oh, whoa, my table's like way at 50 right now. If you want to change your table, you can either scroll or you can table set, which is right here. It says second. And you can say start at 0. Second graph is table. Here's a bunch of ordered pairs I can graph. All of those ordered pairs I could graph. Here's 1, 4, 6.
4, 6.
Yeah, it was there.
1, 2, 3.
There's a bunch of points I could graph. There we go. Oh my gosh, no. There. I know. 10 minutes goes so fast. It is true. That's true. Before you know it, you're old. Anyway, I just wanted to go over graphing, but our directions are to solve this by graphing. So what we're doing is find what x goes into this equation and makes it 0. Oh gosh, that would take forever. We already know the answer. We already know the answer because all of these things that I was talking about earlier are all related. They're all related. What x's are going to solve this? So I'm solving an equation, but if I do it graphically, it's the x-intercepts. So my equation answers are going to be -2 and +3. Why I did not write these as ordered pairs? Because originally it did not say find the x-intercepts. It said solve for x. It didn't say solve for x. It said solve the equation. If I'm solving the equation, I'm just finding the x value. I just have to know that if I do it by graphing, it's the x value of those ordered pairs. You, as an Algebra 2 student, need to know when to write -2 and when to write -2, 0. So I'm trying to teach you that. Let's look at the next one. We're going to solve it by graphing. Can I type this as an equation in right now?
No, you should divide it by 0.
No.
You subtract 4x to make it 0.
Okay, so I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. So I'll have -2x squared minus 4x minus 2 equals 0. Try to fit everything up here. So we're just kind of starting over. We're going to go to y and we're going to type in -2x squared minus 4x minus 2. Some of it, we were doing 3 things today. So there's the graph. What am I trying to find?
The x-intercept.
I'm trying to find the x-intercept or seps.
It's what? -1. No. No, there is an x-intercept.
It's
The vertex. Yeah, the vertex is the x-intercept.
What's your calculator?
Okay, let me see this. What did you try to wrong?
Okay.
Clear.
But why'd you clear it?
I can never help you fix your problem if he keeps clearing it.
I know.
Don't give it to him. Don't give it to him.
I'm gonna
Don't
type
give
it
it to
in.
him. Okay. So if there is no x-intercepts, let me show you one. Don't type this. Just look at mine for a second. No, I just arrowed over. If there's no x-intercepts, it's going to look like this. Do you see here's my x-axis, and does this graph ever touch it? It goes up, but then it comes back down and never touches it. If there's an x-intercept, it's going to touch it. However, this might be difficult to see if it's touching it or not. I think it is. I think it is at -1, but I'm not sure. So then we can check it by doing second trace by pick. 0. So you know what? You can pick maximum, which means you're going to find the vertex. And if your vertex is something comma 0, you should know, yes, that is the intercept.
Should it have an x-intercept?
Oh shoot, I did it wrong. Oh.
Hold on, Katie.
They said the y-intercept is negative 2.2 e minus 12.
We're not talking about the y-intercept. Oh, you're talking about the y value? Okay, let me catch up to you, because I haven't done that part yet. And then I'll talk, I know exactly what's happening, but let me catch up to that. Let me catch up to you. I'll get there, I promise. Katie, what was your question?
Do you always have to have an x coefficient?
No, did you ask one where I went like this, don't do it? What are my x-intercepts now? There wouldn't be any. So, you guys, is the question asking us to find the x-intercepts? No, so like this, what would be my solution? Martin, what would be my solution if you're asked to solve this? What would be your solution?
X equals 0. Wait, no. What solution?
It would be no solution. But there is a solution. Let me go back to the original question. So to get the solution, you use 0. Second trace, 0. That is how you find the x-intercepts. Left bound, pick something to the left of this, negative 3. Right bound, 0. Negative 1. It tells me negative 1, 0. Right, now the E thing, let me see if I get that when I do it the way you did it. No, mine didn't do it. Sometimes, I just did that. See, it says maximum. So the table will work if your answer is at a nice answer. So I'll give you guys another one where you'll see that by graphing isn't always the best way of solving, which is why you're going to learn all kinds of different ways of solving these. I will give you more that don't give you nice answers. These give us nice answers because we're baby step learning this right now. Okay. If you're, Devin was saying, like, is it still on your calculator? Is it still on your calculator? No, he got something different. So sometimes, I don't know why it does this, but I know it does this. Sometimes it'll give you like, I really want him to put it back on his calculator so I can show you. Like sometimes it'll give you like 0.000 E something or another.
I did the same thing I did.
And it didn't give you the
point, negative point.
Is it there right now?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I just want to put it on our
It's negative point 0, negative point 99999.
This happens occasionally. I don't know why. It has something to do with the pixels and how it's set up. I don't know why. Occasionally it'll give you like this horribly, like really close answer. This really is -1. Calculator than mine, so his can't be as exact, I guess. That's why we don't want to rely 100% on technology, because we have other ways of doing it and we can find a better answer.
Yeah, couldn't we sue them for?
Do them? No.
Yeah, they got something wrong.
No. It's just, they'd be like, what? We know that it's like this. You guys can find other points like the y-intercept, etc., etc. The answer is x equals -1. There's only one answer. X equals -1.
Oh, wait. Because there's only one place that it hits the x.
Right. So there's just one answer. There's a line.
That's not what it is.
Okay, we need to move on. That is by graphing. What? Okay, come, let's go. You're going to miss the whole next thing. All right, you better move on. Abney, do you have a question? Okay, you guys, here's the next section. Solving by square roots. This only works. No. it only works if ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This only works if there's no bx term. If you just have the squared term and like a constant, this is the only time you can do this. Yeah, but I mean it might be like ax squared plus c equals 0. It might be ax squared e. You know, the c might be on the other side, but yeah, it only works if there's no x term. So here, you see how there's no x term? So this only works in certain situations. It doesn't always work. Do you know what to do?
Can't you just subtract 49 and make it 0?
Nope. But that is something else.
Can't you swap it?
I'm going to add 31 instead.
Oh, okay, yeah. 10 minutes again.
I'm so happy.
Wait, that'll
So
be
I get-
another 10 minutes?
Yeah. I know. So I get 80, and then I'm going to divide by 4. And I get 20, and then what am I going to do?
Square root
Okay. How many answers am I going to get?
2.
So if I square root 20, how am I getting 2 answers?
Oh, there's no way.
Is it one a decimal?
Because it doesn't actually.
No, hold up.
Oh.
It's not divisible. It's not square root. 20 is not square root.
Yes.
Actually, you can never square root.
Oh, don't worry about that.
It's
That's
2
the least of our concerns right now.
5, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 2 square root 5.
Oh, it has to be like 40.
What is that? Minus 31. Oh, that would be minus
This stuff I
80.
know how to do.
Hey, I'm just going to show you, if we had done this one by graphing instead, how many x-intercepts do you see?
2.
But if you square root, it looks like we get 1. Because there's this rule that was not ingrained in your memory by previous teachers that I'm torturing my geometry students with every week. If you square root, what? Because you're my only geometry student in here. Haven't I put this on your weekly reviews?
Yeah.
If you square root, there are 2 answers. There's a positive and a negative answer.
Oh, I forgot.
And that's going to come up about 400,000 more times in this year. Exactly. Now from here, last year you learned how to simplify radicals. You have to be able to simplify radicals as well.
4 and 5.
So we simplify that to a perfect square, and what's left over?
So it's 2
Plus minus 2 square root 5. So those are my answers for x. Plus minus 2 square root 5. If I used my graph that's right next to me here and I did value, if I did second trace and I did value and I typed in 2 square root 5, that would tell me y is 0. So that is a correct answer. If I typed in value and I did negative 2 square root 5, I can validate, yep, that's an answer. Okay, so question B. What should I do?
Distribute.
Distribute?
Oh, wait. I forgot.
Divided by 3.
Oh, you're looking at C.
Would you divide by 3?
I'm not going to divide by 3.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, so
Minus
subtract
9.
Minus 9.
I got you.
We're solving.
3x. So
Divide by 3. So we got x squared equals negative 3. Then what do I do?
square root it.
Okay, but what also do I have to do when I square root?
Plus or minus.
I have to have a plus or minus in there because there's going to be 2 answers.
Wait, if there's a...
Negative.
That means it's equals.
Don't worry, we're still learning. I'm going to type this one in like I was graphing it and you guys can see the answer.
Plus or minus.
I'm just typing in the original 3x squared plus 9 and I'm going to hit graph.
There's no x in this.
Yes, you can.
Can you see it up there? I can change my window. Here, I'll make it go higher. Whoops, I changed the x, not the y. Hold on, let's try that again. Especially when you go to the bathroom in class.
Right. Like,
You had a 10-minute class change, so. You guys see what happened for this one?
Yeah, there's no way to see.
Why can't I solve this?
Because it's negative.
It doesn't have any other steps.
Why can't I solve it?
It's a negative square root.
You can't take the square root of a negative number. So there would be no
Solution.
solution.
Can we just put N or S?
No.
I could put a 0 with a line.
No.
That means something different. Don't do that.
That means
Don't
no.
write N or S?
Actually, that does mean no solution, doesn't it? Okay, you could write that.
Wait, write what?
This. I'm sorry, I was getting confused. People use that for other things sometimes, and it's not. Oh, sorry. That means no solution.
Oh my.
I was thinking.
Okay, but when I give you a quiz and it's a multiple choice quiz, that won't be an answer ever.
Okay.
Like an answer might be no real solution. Okay. All right, let's look at question C. We're solving this by square roots. So what we're trying to do is trying to get the squared part alone. So what right now is not being squared?
Everything else
The
is
2/5.
What is not being squared?
2/5 and the 5.
2/5. So how do I cancel out 2/5?
You
Divide. No, multiply, sorry.
We multiply by
Negative fifths.
the reciprocal.
You're not dumb.
You just forget things. So I get x plus 3 squared equals, I multiply, I get 25 over 2. Oh, you're going to hate this. That's not going to help when you go to the next step. All right, what is our next step? We're going to square root, and what happens if I square root both sides?
Then you're screwed.
If I square root a square, they undo each other. But on the other side, I have to have two answers.
Plus or minus the square root of 25. Which can be reduced to shoot.
It
Okay,
cannot be
it's
reduced.
5 over. Oh, it's 5 over. What?
So this is another like
This.
review thing from Algebra 1. If I look at square root of 25 halves, that's the same thing as square root of 25 over square root of 2. What is the square root of 25?
5.
Okay, so I could simplify this to be x plus 3 equals plus minus 5 over square root 2. Do you guys know a rule about this?
What rule?
In the top, you got to the top.
Katie? Yeah, I don't know if I want to deal with that today. I might deal with it right now just for a moment, but we've got some like major reviewing to do. You have to. Do you guys remember doing this last year?
Yeah, it's
Nah, it didn't suck.
we had some machine.
I don't remember. Is this algebra 1?
Yep.
No, I didn't pay attention.
That sucks.
Oh.
Okay, so if I multiply square root of 2 over square root of 2, that changes square root of 2 times square root of 2 on the bottom becomes 2. On the top, you got 5 square root of 2. It doesn't even matter. Any of that stuff doesn't matter for now. It doesn't totally matter. All this simplifying stuff. What just matters is that we can get x by itself. How do I get x by itself? Subtract 3. Okay? So I'm going to have negative 3. And then I'm going to put my plus minus. And I might have square root of 25 halves. Or I might have square root of or I might have 5 over square root of 2. Or I might have 5 square root of 2 over 2. Like any of those answers are the same. Any of these answers are the same. It's just this is the most accepted simplified version. If you have this answer, guys, if you have this answer, this would be okay for now. Until we like study radicals, which is chapter 5. Why?
This doesn't.
Okay. I just want to do number 6 together. The ones in the home. Oh, I don't really want to do this. That's okay. Let's just go over number 6 together, just because this one is a lot like C. What would be my first step for this one?
Dividing 2 to both sides.
Yeah. So we want to get the squared by itself, so it's x minus 4 squared equals negative 5 halves. What would be my next step?
Square root plus or minus to both sides.
Okay. Once you have just the squared by itself, that's when you can square root. So I have x minus 4 equals plus minus. And then you guys tell me what I would do next.
Yup, can't do nothing. No
Right. So there is no solution. If you did add the 4, there would still be no real solution. I guess when there's it isn't that there isn't
That's good.
real. It's not that there's no solution. There's no real solution.
Just now.
So like when you work with a minus.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Last thing we're doing. We have like 4 minutes to do it. This is like the majority of your homework. Good to know. Okay. The last section is solving by factoring. This one takes the least amount of time because you're so fast at factoring now. Okay. To solve by factoring. Number 1, it has to equal 0. So x squared minus 4x equals 45. Does that equal 0? No. So I need to have x squared minus 4x. How do I get the 45 over there?
45.
Minus 45 equals 0. So there's my first step. Has to equal 0. Step 2. Factor. So guess what? The factoring is going to go fast because I'm driving the factoring car over here. That's going to be x minus
Plus or minus
9 and plus 5
equals 0.
equals 0.
And we're not done, I think. I don't think we're done. Are we done? No, we're not done.
Okay, step 3. We've kind of already gone over in that one packet you had to turn in last week, the one that you worked on last block day in partners.
Okay.
Yes. How do we find the x-intercepts? You say x minus 9 equals 0, x plus 5 equals 0.
Wait a minute, hold on. They already in there because it's in intercept form right now. So negative 9 is the negative
No.
7 plus 5.
So x equals positive 9 and x equals negative 5. You have to solve for.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The P's and Q's, yeah.
So my piece, my Q.
So what I didn't write the words. What I just did here was set each factor equal to 0 because we've already done this a couple times. And then step 4, we're going to write our answers in order. That means which one's smaller? Negative 5 and then 9. And remember, you were really not finding x-intercepts. You're just solving it. That's why we only wrote the 5 and the 9, the negative 5 and the 9. If I were doing graphs, I'd have ordered pairs, but I wasn't doing a graph. We do it the same way, though. So example 4 says find the zeros. So example 3 says solve. Example 4 says find the zeros, but we were talking about that earlier. Here's zeros. Zeros and solutions, aren't they exactly the same? What's the difference between these two things?
One doesn't equal 0.
Zero's got y.
No, one equals 1, the other one equals 0.
Okay, but if I make y equal to 0, then they're exactly the same. So what you do, and the reason why it's called a 0, is you take this and you make 0 equals 2x squared minus 11x plus 12. So there's my first step, is I make it equal to 0. Now we factor it. It's already equal to 0. So I'm following the rules over here. Make it equal to 0. Now we factor. 2x and x. It has to be minus.
12 and 1. It has to be 12 and 1.
So
Negative 1 and 1. Yeah.
6 and 1?
No, it'll be
Oh, it's 12.
Yeah, 12. Yeah, miss.
Nah.
It'll be negative 11.
Wait, hold up, wait.
No, it has to multiply together to give us 4, 3.
Oh, it's 4 and 3. Wait, what? No. Doesn't
Yeah,
have to
'cause
equal.
7x.
It doesn't have to.
I'm driving the factoring bus here. Negative 8x
I'm dumb.
minus 3x gives me negative 11x.
We didn't.
We're not done though. What do we do now?
We
Always say
do the x and x equals x minus whatever and then x plus whatever.
We say minus 3 equals 0. You have to solve this. The answer is not 3. So you add 3 first, but then what?
You have to
x
divide by
equals
2.
1.5.
I got 3 halves. I don't know.
That's the same.
Oh, okay, okay. Check. I know. Which one's smaller?
3 halves. Is it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. 1.5, yeah. I put it in order.
Wait, why does it matter that you put it?
This is like the way we do it.
Because it's cool. Like
Because when you look at the graph, it goes left to right.
So the rest of our homework.
Not of this math. The rest of these are just more student practice. We're not going to do the solving real life today. So you can pause on the solving real life. I have a worksheet. Most of it is factoring. Some of it's graphing, some of it is square roots, most of